Hello. I am not on Zoom today, so I'm just trying to give this network a little bit of time to catch up. I What is that? An email, right? I should have silenced those things. And yeah, so welcome to our Wellness Friday series, relaunching it because I've been off of it for quite a few months. And a part of the reason was has to do with this subject. I have my cousin on with me, Brenda Long of Birmingham, Alabama. I'm from Birmingham, Alabama as well, but I am in Tanzania. Again, my name is Stacy Scott Nsaki of AIM-Tanzania, also known as Africa Integrated Medicine. It's my headphones. Ooh, that fell. Anyway, yeah, so what we're talking about today is support for caregivers and their loved ones. So when we're talking about caregivers, it's usually a family member that you're taking care of, and it's someone who has fallen ill or they're aging and can't take care of themselves the way they would normally do. And so a family member steps in. And a lot of people don't really realize what all goes into doing something like that and what the commitment is like, and how you can get caregiver burnout. And if you don't, have a support system in place, how you when well how it affects you long term emotionally, and how it can affect you physically. And so I have solicited the support of, this is something that hits home with me. So I'm speaking from a personal experience, as I do with most of my live streams, unless I have someone recently went through this. And my aunt, who's unable to be on with us, Stephanie, she answered some questions for us because she is, what do you call it? She's now a caregiver. Like, this is her third time with a family member, and we were just, discussing some things over the past couple of days about the challenges and how to try to overcome those challenges. So, welcome, Brenda. Thank you for being with us
Oh,
today.
you're more than welcome. Good morning or afternoon for you.
Good morning. Yes, I know. Yeah, I know. Like, this is. I hope folks are chiming in. I'm going to put my comments here, so you can comment, and I'll answer back as quickly as I can. If I'm not running my mouth and I see you talking, or trying to chat with us or have a question, please feel free to jump in. But um, from the place of experience that I am speaking from, I'm going to take you off for just a second, Brenda. You're still here, but I'm just going to. So, okay. So you can see us on Facebook and everything. But for me, I live in Tanzania, and my mother was sick with type 2 diabetes, and chronic depression, and all of those chronic health issues that are associated um, with type 2 diabetes, right? When it goes un I won't say it's untreated, but uncontrolled. And so, me being here, my sister, Willow, was taking care of my mother. She took that on full time with a small child, a baby, and working full time. So, what I would do is come home to Birmingham a few months out of the year and relieve her of that duty, to take care of my mother. And then my mother passed away in 2019, and my sister was dealing with kidney issues and didn't even really know what was going on. And by the time she was, uh, looking into taking care of it, it was time for her to, start dialysis regimen. And um, it's she passed away in October of last year, and I was home with her for a few months. I was home with her during the pandemic, and you know, it's hard to even talk about now, but I'm going to get through this because I think this is really important. Um, my aunt, I'll just go through some questions that she answered for me, and we'll just go moving right along with this. So again, talking from a place of experience, and Brenda, her mother and father passed away recently. Mother most recently. So that is talking about like aging, aging parents, and what all was going on with her, similarities, and how we can try to find support when we need it. So I'm going to bring Brenda back on. So, thank you again, Brenda. I really appreciate this. So I got a full faces on here. Hello. So yeah. So I want to go and pull up my questions. I hope this is the right feed, and it is not, of course. I want to be able to see us and see this as well. And I must have gotten rid of something. So welcome. First of all, welcome. And let me go here. Sorry. Okay, so my first question is, when you want your screens to cooperate with you, they do not. So, yeah. So sorry about that. So, Brenda, how long were you? Well, I'll ask you this first. Did I get that right? You speak for yourself. Did I get that right in the preview?
Well, both my parents were ill. Um,
Mhm.
my dad had congestive heart failure and kidney failure. His condition, he could not go on dialysis because his heart was too weak already. My mother had diabetes, congestive heart failure, and Parkinson's. And I was taking care of her for 5 years before she passed away. My dad came to live with us in 2019. He would come off and on, but by then he felt like he just couldn't stay by himself, and we were concerned about him staying by himself. My mother was much sicker than my father, and we thought that she would have been gone before him. But he was depressed, and I think he just kind of gave up because he couldn't handle not being able to do the things he used to do.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. That's definitely a thing. I experienced some of the same type of thing. So you answered my first question already, and that was how long were you a caregiver, and who were you taking care of? So thank you for that. Did you have any special training
No.
for, for okay. So how did you do that?
Uh, I when they each time they were diagnosed with something, I just kind of Googled to see what was their condition like and what to expect. I talked to their doctors. Um, my dad, he could kind of handle what was going on. My mother was a bit of a hypochondriac, so we talked to her doctors and we find out about her condition, especially the Parkinson's, but we never told her what to expect because she would have immediately started having the symptoms. So we just kind of let it develop with her develop on its own. But I knew what was coming.
Okay. And so you said your your dad was going back and forth, I guess, between his home and yours,
Yes,
but Mama was with you, correct? At your
yes,
house.
yes.
Okay. Okay. Um, so most of the time she was with you there,
She was
right?
most of the time with me. Yes.
Yeah. So it was the same for me. Like it was at home, and for my aunt who can't be on here today because she's actually a caretaker. She was taking care of my grandmother who passed away last year at 100 years. She was on her way to 101, but that was quite a few years. And a few years before that, it was her sister, my aunt, also pancreatic cancer. That that's the one that creeps in. You never like when you find out. It's usually stage 4.
Hmm.
And then now, before my grandmother passed, um, one of my other aunts, who was actually helping to be a caregiver, she had a stroke, so she's in need of support now. So my aunt Stephanie is, helping her out. So she's, shifted to her home. But before she was in my grandmother's home, her sister's home, and now she's brought her sister to live with her so that she can get the support that she needs. But it's kind of like the same story. With my sister, she was at home. With my mama, she was at home. And usually people do better when they're at home, when they're in a facility where they're not surrounded by things that they're familiar with. It makes it difficult to deal with. And I know that, the times that when my sister was in the hospital, like for Hashimoto's, and then, the heart failure issues, it was long term stage, not like for a couple of days. It was like upwards to 2 months, 2 and 3 months kind of stays. And there's this sort of delirium that sets in.
Hmm.
So or you just don't know even where you are. Like that's a real thing. That's a so I know that it helps with the mental to be able to be at home. So thank you for being there for your parents, and I appreciate my aunt for being there for her sisters and her mother as well. So I know how difficult those things can be. Did you receive any support from other members of the family, and do you have any advice on how to enlist the help of family and friends?
Well, I had my sister, and she came by every day. She would come on weekends and cook because I hate cooking.
Oh,
So and all of a sudden I had to be preparing meals where I would
mm,
just grab something. It didn't matter to me what day of the week. I didn't have to have a Sunday dinner. I could grab some yogurt, anything. Didn't matter to me.
mm,
But all of a sudden I had to be cooking meals. And so she
mm-hmm,
would come by and she would cook. Um, when my niece could come, she would come down and she'd stay a couple of weeks and then she'd, let me go off and take some time. But because all most of this happened during the pandemic, there was no help for me because people couldn't come and people couldn't move around. And even with them being on home health care, that was even limited because they had nurses that would just up and quit. And you're expecting somebody and they'll call and say, well, so and so quit, and as soon as we can we'll get somebody there. And sometimes they'd be sending nurses that came from the northern part of the state that had no clue what was going on, hadn't been seeing them, and it's just like, here I am, they take their vital signs and whatever, and they were out the door. So
mm-hmm.
getting help during the pandemic was really bad.
Yeah, I know for my mom and my sister hated, having the healthcare teams come in. Like at first, they were
Mhm.
willing to because of like maybe mobility issues and just
Right.
trying to be a trooper. But I don't know if it was just like it was a reminder of being sick or not having the ability to do things. So I say it's a help. It was helpful. I'm just speaking about my own experience. It was helpful in the very beginning, but what they seem to value more is when someone came in to clean. And I know what would have been helpful, more helpful for me is if I had someone to help with cooking. Like I didn't take advantage of the Meals on Wheels and those sorts of programs. um, I just never. You're so busy doing other things, like you don't even realize all the different, support channels that are available. And sometimes the social workers that are assigned to your loved one aren't really good. Like they don't care as
Yeah.
much. I'll say that. And so they don't. You have to dig deep to, find what you need. Even when you ask them, maybe they don't follow up, and so it's those challenges. You try to get them into programs, whether it's rehabilitation programs or whatever. I know for even for my sister, there was a cardiovascular program that was recommended for her, but they were saying, oh, 3 months before we can see you. And I'm like, why even, you know, recommend
Exactly.
things and you don't really have things available? And so, that angered both of us. But, me trying to keep my, my cool about things so that my emotions don't, like go over to her were a challenge as well. And just, trying to take care of regular things that they would have taken care of, like the bills, the whatever,
Exactly.
yeah. So what I wanted to share now, go through the questions, but I wanted to share some resources that I discovered later. Before
Mhm.
we were using our own money, wherever that came from, and medication is expensive. With time away from work is expensive, and for a long time, I think I froze. So okay, I just saw myself freeze. So I don't know how that came across, but do you have okay? What would you say was the most challenging, number one, and number two, the most rewarding part of being a caregiver?
Well, I guess the most challenging part was trying to get help. Like you said, somebody will tell you, well, try this program or try that program. And one program I called, it was 2 months before they called me back. And when they did call, I had to put in an application and wait another 2 months before it went into effect. So it was helpful when I got it, but it took, months before it kicked in. And a lot of the programs are income based in order for getting different types of services. And because of them having two incomes, they didn't qualify.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's like if you were on Medicaid, you would be able to get you would be able to get help. I could have gotten paid if they were qualified for Medicaid, but their income didn't allow it. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like, you have to pool your money, um, try to get relatives and friends. A lot of things I didn't do for my own health because I had to worry about who's going to stay with them. And then I really didn't want to
Right.
find out anything that might, cause me to have some type of procedure because then now I got to find somebody to take care of all three of us.
Right.
So that was
Right.
always a challenge.
Yeah. Yeah, I understand. That's a tough one because I mean I think those were some things that with my sister I don't think she wasn't one to kind of watch health stuff anyway. My mom, it's so funny the way she brought us up was you go to the doctor, make sure you get your checkups. If you've got a sneeze, a sniffle, you go like it was always about
Mhm.
that dental appointment. But when it came to her, when she got depressed after my sister Ebony passed away, she just kind of like forget
Yeah.
it, right? And didn't do the things that she needed to. And when she was ready, it was too late, and it's like, um, how can you bring someone back? It's that's about that whole support and for the caregiver and those who are surrounding us that they're on the outside looking in and don't really
Mhm.
understand the dynamics of what is going on. How they're angry, and you're the only one around or whoever comes around, like I'm sure your niece, because I know who you're talking about, I'm sure she got it. I'm sure Cheryl got it. I got it from my mom and my sister that, just mad. So
Mhm.
they lash out, they say stuff that's not very nice. And I know a couple of times I had to like go drive somewhere and, stay gone for a little while to keep from like really going off because I even talked to my husband about it, and he would say, you it's not her. It's just that because some of
It's
the things they
the
say you
condition.
can't even believe.
Exactly. Um,
Yeah,
my dad didn't ever go off on us, you
it
know.
is,
He kept his calm.
and so being able to
But my
understand him,
mom,
yeah, the
she would go
important thing.
off on us all the
Hmm.
time, especially me. She would have me in tears.
Mm.
And, it was like, I
Mm.
know it's because she's sick, but it didn't hurt any less.
Right. Right. No, it doesn't. And it didn't, I didn't even, I would only like when I can't, it's too much if somebody's like on you like that. Yeah. So I definitely understand that. And my Aunt Stephanie had similar situations, it's just like, especially when dementia sets in,
Oh, yes.
if it's something that, yeah, yeah, that one will
Well,
tear
that
you up
gets
because then they
really
really say some
bad.
stuff because, hmm,
That gets really bad. At
yeah,
one point, I had
yeah,
gotten to the
and
place
I
I
won't
couldn't
even,
even go to the bathroom because she would try to get up. She had mobility issues. She would try to get up because she always thought the house was on fire and I was trying to burn her up in the house. So the paramedics between the two of them, they came to my house so much. I'd see them in the grocery store and they'd ask how they were doing. So, they came to my
mm,
house a lot.
yeah,
And but
yeah,
like I said, she became combative. One day she had her grabber in hand, and I got beat up trying to get it away from her because she was whacking me
mm,
everywhere she could. And by the end, the dementia was so bad, she was in a delusion more than she was lucid. And somebody was
mm,
stealing all the furniture. It was close the windows. It's raining in the house. You tell her, no, it's not raining in the house. And then it was like a whole other fight. Um, the funniest story, one night she said there were 8 children in here. We need to take them back to their mama. We said 8 children. She counted them and said, it's 8 of them. Y'all need to get them out of here. They're getting on my nerves. So Cheryl decided,
okay,
okay, I'm going to round them all up and take them out. I'm like, girl, they'll be back before you get down the street. And they were. I thought she took them home. So it's like, it's funny now, But at the time, it's like, what do we do? How do we deal with this?
Right.
And
Mhm.
one doctor or nurse tells you, just go along with it, but then you go along with it and it doesn't get better. And if you tell them that what they're seeing isn't reality, then you got another fight. So you're just kind of caught in the middle and not knowing really what to do or how to deal with them.
Yeah. Yeah, that I understand as well. Yeah, I understand. Let me go back to my thing here. Sorry. I wanted to, thank you for sharing that because it's similar. I think, the experiences, number one, they're similar because people are going, no matter what the health issue is, they're going through a change where they're in a decline. They don't have control. And then so it's just
Mhm.
grasping at straws, you know, um, and if it means that straw they're trying to choke and you're the one who looks like the straw that you get, how did my glasses just fall off my face? But yeah. So what I wanted to let me pull up my screen here is that, some options that are available. I actually have a wellness coaching program. It's a new program that it's not just for those who are caregivers, but it is hold on, sorry. It's not just for caregivers, but I have a specific space in my heart for those who are caregivers, and so the program helps caregivers to you find some peace and also to help guide them through the process. I don't know if you can you hear me because my face just froze in front of me.
Yes,
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. You breaking up at times, but when you freeze.
Yeah. Yeah. So what I can say is that this is specifically. I know I have people like that who may see this who are from other countries other than the United States, but this is specifically for people who are U.S. citizens because the support channels are from the U.S. So you have for income specific. Also with Medicaid too, you have to kind of sign off like they're still going to get their money back somehow, right?
Exactly.
Right. So
Exactly.
whether that's you sign off your house or whatever it is, um, you know, that is available. So Medicaid's cash and counseling program, that's what they call it. It allows Medicaid recipients to manage their own caregiving funds, which can be used to pay a family caregiver, including a spouse, an adult child, for the services they provide. So they have to, again, give up something, right? For
Mhm.
um, for whenever it's their time to leave this earth. Um, but the funds are available. It's kind of like it's free for a minute. It's they're not having to worry about that. But when you're soliciting the help of a caregiver, you have to think about how they're paying for themselves and to eat, to take care of their bills, to even if they're coming to live with you, they still have a life, you know,
Mhm.
outside of um, outside of taking care of you. So like how do they maintain that if your money is not big enough to give to them to support being with you 24/7, like how do they care for themselves? So that is an option. There's a veteran directed care program. If your
Mhm.
loved one is a U.S. military veteran, they may be eligible for the veteran directed care program, which allows veterans to choose their own caregivers, including family members, and receive payment for their services. Now, I
Mhm.
don't know a whole lot about that, but that is available. And
It is
I think it's
available.
important for even us, right? We're not like one day.
Well,
Go ahead. Sorry, there's a
the
lag.
veterans program is only available to veterans that served during wartime. They didn't have to actually go to war, but they had to be
Oh,
in the military during wartime. I found that out because I applied for that, and we weren't eligible because my
okay.
dad was not in there during wartime. So
Interesting.
that's
Okay.
like I said, that is a good option for people that that were in the military.
Okay.
But
Okay. Thank you for that. So
hospice
wartime. War.
hospice
Mm-hmm.
when they determine that they are not going to get well, people think that hospice is only because you've only got a few months to live, but hospice is to keep you comfortable. It could be years that you are on hospice. As long as you're not getting better, it will remain. Hospice will pay for their medications. The thing that I didn't like most was that they take over the doctors, but you don't have to take them to the doctor anymore, which if you got somebody with mobility issues is a big help. If you can just call the doctor and they will televisit or whatever, much easier
Ah,
than trying to get somebody into a wheelchair, into a car, back out of the car, into a wheelchair, into an office. You know, if you got somebody with mobility issues and they have a condition that they will not recover from, then you can get hospice services. They provide you wheelchairs, hospital beds, everything that you would need, and they pay for any medicines related to the condition that they have.
so who like other than you're in a position that they're saying that you're not going to get better, so you're eligible for hospice. But are there any other criteria?
No, income does not matter. Um, as long as the doctor feels you have a chronic condition from which you will not get better, you will only get worse. And hospice is not concerned with you going to the hospital for everything, and they're not going to do a lot of the tests um that you might take in order to, find out, well, if they've got this, can I cure it? They're only going to look for anything that they can make you comfortable from. Like if you got a urinary
Okay.
tract infection, they're going to try to cure that. But the main
Okay.
condition, like you got Parkinson's, it's no coming back. It's only going to get worse. If you got congestive
Mm-hmm.
heart failure, once you've gotten to a certain stage of it, you're not going to get any better. So that's when the doctor can refer you to hospice and they will take over from there. But they provide
Got it.
all all the equipment that you need. But you get kind of angry because you got to call them for everything. And they may
Mm.
not be, you
Okay.
know, one night they came here and
That responsible.
it was like the response time, the nurse didn't get here until almost midnight. And then the prescription that the doctor wrote needed to be picked up that night, and the only drugstore was mm, about 30 miles away. Like from my house to
Oh.
Hoover is like 30 miles, and I was gonna have to go
Mm.
to Hoover at 2 in the morning to pick up a prescription, which meant I still was gonna have to leave the two of
Mm.
them here by themselves to go to Hoover to pick up the
Mm-hmm.
prescription. So, it's like I said, they're not always, you call them and somebody's gonna be here in a few minutes.
Right. And people don't see that behind the scenes. They just, like come to visit or, call to say hello, and they don't see all the challenges that happen behind the scenes, the reasons
Yes.
that you're tired and fatigued and why you're not getting sleep and that sort of thing. So, It's a real thing. I, I,
It's a
I
real
I
thing.
totally get it. Yeah. Um, so there's also something that can be considered. There's long-term care insurance and short-term care insurance programs. Like, so if you work, um, if you have a job that provides all of these benefits normally, the old school jobs, right? Normally you would get uh, the option to purchase long-term care and short-term care. But if
Mhm.
you ever separate from that job, so I'm speaking to people, who you have a job. People don't stay in jobs 30 and 40 years, even 20 years these days, like maybe 5 years.
Mhm.
That's the average, right? To
Right.
stay in a job. And so with long-term care, just like life insurance, long-term and short-term care is term, and it's based on your being attached to this job, right? So when
Right.
you leave that job, all of that money that you placed into this service is just, if you don't use it, you just don't use it. Short term, like if, oh I went out for a second. If you're like, sick, and you need like a little support for a short time, like the cleaning, the
Mhm.
cooking, that sort of thing. That's what that's for. But long term care, um, some people who get that and didn't even realize, like, maybe they were in a car accident or something, and they are paralyzed from the neck down. What if that person didn't have long term care? And jobs these days, they'll support you for a little while. Maybe you get support for a
Mhm.
year, but what about after that? When your money, if you don't have a lot money sitting, even if you have money sitting somewhere, eventually, if you're not putting money back in, it's going to run out.
It's
So
gonna
then
run
what do you
out.
do? So having a long term, and yeah, it'll run out like with a quickness, right? With those medications and, anything that your insurance plan, because if you have to separate from the job that you had with those benefits, then those benefits that would have given you the prescriptions, the discounts on prescriptions, that you're only paying a copay to, get to see your physician or go to the emergency care or have a surgery or whatever is needed. Then pension sitting there, and you go for surgery, you're in the hospital for a couple of weeks, and you find out half your money is gone, right? For
Mhm.
for for, for medical bills. So long-term care insurance is very important, and short-term care. So I would say, instead of dumping your money into your job's benefit program, these days more than ever, the consideration should be, Google some places that are local, these insurance providers, to make sure you've got your life insurance, whether it's term or what is it, the other
Whole
one?
life.
Whole life. Yes, thank you. Whole life or term. I'm not going to even go into what that is. Maybe one day I'll have an insurance agent to kind of talk that up, because a lot of people don't really understand the importance of having that. We even had a challenge with that. I grew up with, you make sure you got that insurance. You make sure you got your uh, you know, care insurance and your burial, and the burial, and then taking care of other business, and so I ran into that challenge. Um, Goodness, we ran into it like that was coming out of the pocket twice, and it was a real surprise this last time, you know, um, because there was no payment plan. It was just like, if you don't have, or we can't find it, then we're not. If you don't come up with the cash today, there ain't gonna be no funeral. It's like
Right.
that kind of thing. So, it's a lot of stuff that, when you're of sound mind and trying to make good decisions while your mind is here, you know, it. Hold on, I think I froze. Hold on.
You did.
Did I freeze? Hello, hello.
Yes, you
Okay, I'm
frozen.
still frozen. Now I heard you say. I froze like that. That was crazy, but at least I was walking like, like that. But yeah, but just to those those are just a lot of things that we need to consider what's healthy. Because when you're in that situation,
They won't
here
give it
I
to you.
am, frozen again. When you're in that situation, right, right. Um, and also when you're in that situation, you don't know, like your mind isn't on the support that you need. It's just about your man, right? So you're not thinking
Right.
about anything else. How you can help. And then there's state and local programs. Some states have programs that offer financial assistance to family caregivers. Check with your local area agency on aging or the
Yes.
Department of Social Services to explore available options in your area. There's private pay agreements. In some cases, the care recipient may choose to enter into a private pay agreement with the caregiver using personal funds to compensate for the caregiving services. So, sometimes you have to bring the whole family in, like, hey, even if
Mhm.
it's everybody gives $20 a month from the family to support this caregiver who's doing the job,
Right.
like whatever needs to be done. And so I was talking about this whole thing with caregiver burnout. It's essential to prioritize your self care to avoid the burnout and to maintain well being. Here's some ideas for that. So you can take short breaks, allow yourself short breaks throughout the day to relax and recharge. Seek support. Join caregiver support groups or connect with others who understand the challenges you're facing. So that's a part of the program that I'm offering. Maintain hobbies. Dedicate time to your hobbies and interests to reduce stress and to find joy. Um, Ask for help. So don't hesitate to ask other family members or friends to assist with caregiving responsibilities. My aunt was saying, you have to find those who will show up, right? Everybody's not going to
Exactly.
show up, but when you find someone who does, then you hold on to that, and the ones who are available or will make themselves available. Otherwise, you're always calling this person and that person and sitting trying to figure out what you're going to do next. um, Ensure you are eating well, you're staying hydrated, and you're getting regular exercise. Practice mindfulness, so meditation, yoga, reading the Bible, the Quran, or whatever you do to maintain mental clarity and reduce your anxiety. There's respite care. Consider utilizing respite care services, allowing you to take a temporary break while a substitute caregiver takes over. So I know you said that that can change from time to time, but that's an option because if you don't take care of yourself, then who's taking care of who you're taking care of, right?
Right.
Um, so there are
And one thing about respite,
your loved ones. You can try um, local senior centers, home health agents. Uh huh. Go ahead.
one thing about respite, well,
I don't know
here
why I'm putting
most
my
of the
ear.
time when they go into respite, they want to send them to a facility. They don't send anybody to the house to take care of them. So when they go into respite,
Oh.
they will only accept them if they are somewhat functional. Because my mom was in dementia and has become combative and delusional, they would not let her go to respite because she needed more attention than they could give her in a respite center. They have certain
Mm.
centers where that will accept them for respite, and if they can't deal with it, I have an aunt that went into respite, and they were calling them. It's like, you gotta come get her, because they didn't realize when she went that she was going to be as much of a problem as she was,
Mm.
because they're not going to lock them in, they're not going to tie them down, when they want to
Mm.
start wandering and all these things, they won't deal with that.
Wow. Well, hmm, that I understand too. A little bit of that, yeah. We didn't have to deal directly with that, but I understand where you're coming from. Thank you for sharing that because that will be helpful to others who are considering that because there are just a lot of different considerations. And I'm gonna in my chat in my Facebook group, which is a private Facebook group, we can continue this conversation. But I'll put what we've talked about. I'll do a summary of it so that people can find this
Okay.
information. Um, but you have the home health agencies. That's a whole nother animal. But assisted devices, Meals on Wheels, senior transportation services, um, the health insurance coverage, and it's crucial to review the insurance policy and seek guidance from a knowledgeable healthcare professional or insurance representative to understand the scope of coverage for both the caregiver and the care recipient. So, for me, I would say, you know, yeah. So, off camera for a second, right? Because people are like, yeah, I get distracted like that when people are standing here looking at me like, "Are you on?" Yeah, I'm on. I- So anyway, but I will put all of these things in the chat. I am offering actually for 6 months because I know for caregivers usually money is an issue. So for 6 months, I'm offering this program to help give them a boost in just finding balance before things go crazy, or if they are crazy, maybe this will help. But I have an app that guides you through meditation, journal writing, let me see, exercises like some of my clients have said, they don't want like real exercises, they just want to stretch, so we've got
Mm-hmm.
all of that. And even though my network has been patchy a bit, I think that I'm going to start like a weekly exercise group so we can exercise online together. And just sometimes it's the camaraderie and just being able to see and talk to someone else. We know we should
Right.
work out, but when you have a buddy thing that I can hold on. Oh, it just blinked out for a second. The only thing that I know of or that I feel that was good uh, and we're gone again. We're back. We're using this technology to stay front and center, yeah, with our family. So, in closing, is there anything else you'd like to share with our audience?
Just try to make sure you take care of yourself because you end up, finding yourself in depression. And that's not a good place for you to be. You've got to try to keep yourself up because you've got to keep the person that you're taking care of up. So
Mhm.
just always remember that you've got to come first, which a lot of times I didn't consider that, but I learned that, I had to come first or I was going to be really down.
Yeah.
So you just you can't take care of anybody else if somebody's, like I said, gonna have to come take care of you.
Right, and that's really good advice because even the person that you're taking care of might not understand that because their
Right.
focus is them at the time. Like, and I can understand that because I'm like, well, you ain't sick, like so why do you need support, right? So I totally understand, but it's kind of like when you're on the airplane, when they're giving you those instructions for if there's a trouble with the airplane, you put the thing over your own face before you assist anybody else, because if you pass out, then what happens to the person? Like if it's a child sitting by you, how can you help your child if you don't help yourself first? So I definitely
Right.
um, I appreciate you being with us today. I know I reached out to you
Thank
like
you.
last minute and
No problem.
sharing. This is private and for my aunt Stephanie Kusar, um, who I hope this came in. Yeah, for my aunt Stephanie, for sharing her story and her insight, or allowing me to share that here online. And again, you can join my private Facebook group. It is Living the Good Life with Stacy. You'll find it like that. My face is on there. So and just join and let's interact. But I think this we could take it a bit further, to include some other information. So I think you're on the Facebook group, right?
Yes.
So if you wouldn't mind, I'm gonna tag you, but
Okay.
in any tidbit of it, um, you can share, and if you know of anyone who might benefit from being a part, just invite them to join the group, because I just want it to be an inclusive community of people. Goodness, sorry. I saw it freeze, so when it freezes, I freeze too. But inclusive group for those who are looking for support. So I, post about recipes, and it's not, and things that can help. And so, my background is in traditional Chinese medicine, and integrative therapy. So I always look at things from a holistic standpoint. It's not just about, oh, you've got the symptom, throw that at it. It's about the whole self, right? So again, thank you very much. I am going to end the broadcast now. So I'll do my countdown, even though I started the countdown before, but I started before I started the live broadcast. So I think it came in like, boop, you're live. So I'm just going to say 5, 4, 3,